Interpreting Brief. World-leading economist Judith Humphreys is delivering a speech to the UN General Assembly in Geneva about the political and economic issues facing Latin America. The audience includes UN officials, diplomatic representatives of the member states, and fellow development experts. You have been assigned as the interpreter for her presentation, using the simultaneous mode in a conference interpreting booth. The monologue task begins now.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed an honour to be with you today. In so many ways, Latin America is a blessed region. Today it enjoys great political stability. It's a region where life expectancy tends to be 70 years or higher. But it is also a region where there are issues that I believe continue to challenge us despite the political improvements in terms of economic growth, advances in disease control and literacy. Second, this is the region of the world that almost defines inequality, because these were societies that were forged in the crucible of violence and inequality itself. All of the Americas, in some ways, are conquest societies, after all. The challenge of uniting and bringing together indigenous populations, former slave populations, and conquering European populations has been ongoing for half a millennium of history. I think the Americas are unique in this, because everywhere the terrible tragedies that were faced by the indigenous peoples of this hemisphere have not yet been solved, even 500 years after the Columbian incursion. Because of its history, this region has more work to do in bringing together ethnicities, races, backgrounds, and cultures than probably any other part of the world. For much of its history, this has not happened successfully. Even today, stark inequalities endure in political and economic power that is too often concentrated in the hands of the few instead of serving the many, in the corruption that too often still stifles economic growth and development, innovation, and entrepreneurship. These two are realities we must face. I think it's only in the rise of democracy that we see hope for the resolution of these fundamental issues, because so much of the history of this region was using power to repress popular demands by majorities, not just minorities, impoverished majorities of indigenous or black populations in the face of vastly unequal power and political roles. This is not just a Latin American problem. This is a United States problem, full-fledged in the same way. The proportions are somewhat different, but the challenge of the indigenous populations of the United States, of the former slave populations of the United States, is the same challenge. This is an America's-wide phenomenon, with the exception of the highest latitudes, perhaps, in the north.